Hello and welcome to another episode of Infinitely Gem and Tea. I am Gem.
I'm T.
And today we're going to be discussing spirituality. And I think that I may have shared a lot of my journey with you, but I don't think I actually spoke about what initially, I guess, encouraged or ignited my interest in delving into spirituality and specifically using divination tools. So, the divination tools I'm talking about have to do with astrology, numerology, cardology, and learning to use the tarot. And one of the things that I can say ignited my interest in spirituality was I had a lot of time to really sit with myself once I had the major surgery. For those who don't know and are just listening into our podcast, I had a major surgery that involved having my uterus being removed. And it was very traumatic, and it left me with a lot of time to watch, a lot of YouTube. I didn't watch a lot of TV, but I watched a lot of educational things on YouTube. And I stumbled upon astrology, which was my first love when I was 10 years old. I picked up my first astrology book. And from then, it sort of progressed into me using these metaphysical tools to help me cope with some of the things that I have been dealing with. And then eventually turning into someone that reads tarot for others. And so this is just one of the ones that I use. And this is called the Light Seers Tarot. I have quite a few of them. And I just wanted to touch a little bit on that. And I believe that I may have influenced you to tap into using divination tools such as tarot. So yeah, tell us about you and what you found when you used the tarot deck when you first got interested when I was speaking about it.
I don't know what started. I think like you, I found something on YouTube and I never thought I would actually do it myself. That was for sure. I knew there was something about it that I gravitated towards, but then listening to how passionate you were when you were studying the different cards and getting into like the tarot, and it just seemed interesting. So I think my first deck I bought wasn't even like a regular tarot deck; it was an oracle deck,
Oracle deck,
and
yeah,
I
I
bought it.
remember.
I bought it because it was pretty.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
the
yeah,
illustration on here is so cute. I
yeah,
was going in to
yeah.
buy crystals,
Yes.
and I
Yeah,
because
that's another thing. Yeah.
I got into crystals because I felt like I needed like extra protection, and I was going through things just making me a little cloudy. And I was watching a video, and I remember it was this lady that I was following at the time. She was saying that certain crystals like help with your vibration, and I was like, I want a higher vibration, like I want to feel
Yeah,
better. So
yeah,
I bought
yeah,
it, and then when I
yeah.
was buying the crystals, I think I had you in the back of my head like you should buy that, like you should get into it, and then I started playing around with it, and then I got into it a little bit. I'm not
Yeah.
completely all the way in, but I'm learning.
Yeah.
I
So
feel
I
like it
think
takes a
that
while.
it does. I think that when you're in alignment and it finds you where you find it, and there is this energetic match because everything, has a vibrational frequency. And I think
Mm.
at the time, because I was searching for a way to cope with what was happening to me emotionally, mentally, spiritually, there were a lot of things that I started to research about holistic health, and then, looking into gemstones and all these other sciences because I wanted answers. I had so many why is this happening to me? What happened? What did I do wrong? And it was a mindset shift that took place when I started to go into, being more in tuned with my intuition, myself, my spiritual self, because we're spiritual beings. We're spiritual beings having
Mm.
this experience, and we're infinite beings at that, and very multifaceted. And there's so many different tools that we can use to help us sort of be able to move through this. And at least that's my, you know, my way of expressing it and looking at it, and being able to just have this tool to help me deal with some of the things that I was dealing with at the time. And
Mm.
so it was interesting. I moved to Florida, and then I got more into using the tarot cards. And I feel like when you find these different tools to kind of help you have a better understanding with yourself first, and then how to communicate and express yourself with others, even these conversations that we have very deep, fulfilling conversations, and they're very substantial because they seem to be on this line of, being not this mundane, how you doing, but how how are you doing in terms of what's
Mm,
happening in your life, and how are you coping with this, or you had this particular experience, let's see what we can do to help you move through it. And gemstones are another thing that I had come into alignment with, and I had different ones that kind of correspond with what your sign is or your emotions. And then I think that my biggest lesson with having gemstones, that I think when I went into the store and I wasn't sure on what I needed, the store clerk was like, well, just walk around and browse and see what calls to you. See, pick this one up and see what it feels like for you. And so and it came into this whole thing, and I started collecting them. And then I started seeing
mm,
some of the alignment and some of the correspondence with, your sun sign, and then the elements of earth, air, fire, and water. And we are such diverse beings, and we're made
mm,
up of so many different elements, and this about the different aspects of those elements that make us as individual as we are, as crystals are. So it just was really, really, really comforting to me to kind of have an understanding of myself, like why I was always so passionate and fiery, especially when I looked into my astrology chart. And then astrology has affiliation with some of the cards, and like the moon card, and Pisces, and the wheel of fortune card that's affiliated with Jupiter.
hmm.
I think I got it correctly. I'm still, I'm a little rusty
It's
because I've
learning.
kind of,
You're
yeah,
always learning.
you're always
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. Yeah, it's always this learning thing with me. And it's interesting because, a lot of this healing that I had done, that I was doing physically from the operation, I feel like I did spiritually. And I learned that the things were not happening to me, they were happening for me. And we have all these trending phrases that people have, but what does it really mean? And it's different for everyone. And so this is why I do a lot of focus on my spirituality. I have rituals that I do every day, trying to make sure that I'm tuning into myself. So my feelings and emotions that I'm having, I get to the root cause of why they're there. Is it something that I need to address? Is it something that is calling its attention to me? Even our body has these warning signs that gives us these indications that it's something that we need to address. Like something as simple as a headache could mean, I don't know, you need rest, you need to drink water, or maybe there's something happening in the external environment, in the collective. When I say collective, I mean, the world, because you have your inner
Mm,
self and you have your, everything that's in the collective. So it's all very interesting, and it's definitely helped me to do a lot of healing. I journal a lot. Part of my spirituality is being creative. I really feel that when I am in this creative space, it's comforting, it's healing, it allows me to express myself. And
mm,
journaling a lot, I get a lot out of my head. So I'm not holding things in, which can cause me distress or anxiety, or, being in these thought loops. We talked about that in a previous, how some of our fears and the things that we think about, we are in these thought loops. Where are they coming from? What's the root of it? How do we help create this space where we're more in harmony with what's happening within ourselves as well as our environment? Because sometimes that's a reflection. Even you and I are a reflection of each other, some of the people that we come into exchanges with. So yeah, that's how it's
You said you started looking at like astrology books at like around
10.
age 10. Do you feel as though like if you would have kept up with it, you would have been deeper into this realm, or do you think it would have changed anything, or do you feel like it would have had the same result? Not saying that like looking into past, if you would have done this better, would this be better or worse? But do you think
I do
maybe?
believe anything that you do consistently over a long period of time would definitely bring you to the highest level that you can, because there's always a level to reach. And I feel that if I had continued studying at age 10, I would
Mhm,
probably be very much in the space of teaching these sciences and
mm,
being able to influence others to use these sciences in a way that helps them move through this experience, because there's a lot that we don't know. I mean, I was just thinking about that today. The things that I don't know could probably fill up tons and tons and tons of books in
mm,
libraries because we don't know what we don't know. And there's always something to learn, there's always something to experience, and always something to add to our toolbox as we're moving through this experience. So, looking back, if I had to assess, would I be in a different place? Absolutely. Because when you have access to these tools, and maybe I wasn't ready at that time, I picked it up, I read it, I understood it, I looked at some of the things and the different experiences around me, and I said, oh, that's a Gemini, or oh, that's a Leo, or oh, that's a such and such trait. And then
Mm.
there's so many different layers of these sciences. There's astrocartography, there's predictive astrology, there's medical astrology. So you have so many layers of how these sciences can be used to help you move through whatever the experience is that you're having. So yeah, I would
Mm.
definitely be further along. I would probably be teaching these sciences in some of these institutions, if not, on my own platform. And that's something
Mm.
that I'm looking into doing because I am studying cardiology and probably will get some sort of certification in that. That's another science that I study. Actually, tarot stems from the 52 playing cards that we use to play poker and spades and go fish. Each of
Mm-hmm.
those suits, is a season. Each of those numbers, has a vibration. Each, you have masculine cards and feminine cards. You have the court cards that represent the masculine, masculine and feminine, and the jacks are the younger, representatives that bridge the royalty with the regular people. So when you start to look into a lot of these sciences and look at how they can be used to help you move through your experience, they're a great tool, like any tool. I think
Mm.
that it's math. Cardology stems from a calendar that indicates, each day is indicated by one of those, is a, one of the cards represents, the day, and even the months have some sort of correlation to the court cards. And then you have each of the days that, whatever day your birthday is, there's a card that's affiliated with that. And from that, it's on a spread called the Grand Solar Squares. So, without really
Mm.
getting into, the nuts and bolts of it, I'd like to say that, do everyone who's looking into using these metaphysical tools to help them in their environment, whether it's work, whether it's relationships, whether it's family, whether it's a business, all of these tools can be used to help you discern and decipher some things on what you need to do, like when to move, how to apply, what are the strengths, the elements that are in your chart. How can you use those things as leverage to help you move through this experience, because everything is an experience. So I find it very interesting that I'm always learning, and I've always had this appetite to always learn. I'm always learning something. I'm very observant, and there's still so much to learn because there's so much that I don't know at this stage. With me starting my second season and being 52, comparing myself to when I was 10, I mean, the sky is the limit. No,
Mm-hmm.
there is no limit when it comes to the sky. The sky is just the beginning. I don't like to say the sky is the
Mm-hmm.
limit. The sky is the beginning, because we
Mm.
are such multifaceted individuals. And I feel like we don't tap into ourselves and understand the power that we have spiritually. And sometimes it can be a disservice to us and keeps us in these spaces that we're not allowed to grow and evolve from. So, yeah.
Do you feel like that's where you were this whole time? And when you finally realized that you wanted to get into the sciences, you're like, okay, I'm getting out of that space of being stuck and I'm going into this new unknown terrain. And you kind of had to like break free from that.
I say, yeah, I had to. It really started with mindset and some of the things that I
Mm.
was saying to myself, some of the things that I was recalling that other people may have said to me. I think that made a huge impact on me. And if you don't know any better, you just don't
Mm.
know. But when you know better, you do, or you put forth the effort and attempt to do better. And try to keep yourself from repeating certain cycles. And it starts with mindset and then using the tools. Like when I was recognizing that I was connecting to myself on a spiritual level more, there were some things I put into practice. And the first thing that I put into practice was journaling. I had to get a lot of things out of my head and go back and reread some of the things that I was saying and understand that that person no longer existed. I had to allow certain things to fall away, certain things to be dead, and certain things to be cut away. And, source, divine source creator did a lot of that. And I understood it
Mm.
because I felt lighter. It was easier for me to go out and be brave and do more things. I was more curious. I didn't feel restricted. I mean, there is times when you have to learn when to make moves and learn when to pause. And I studied or looked into and read books about universal law, again, astrology, numerology, and then energy. I read books on Reiki. So a lot of these health, I call them health and wellness tools, because we are spiritual beings in this experience, and we have this body, this avatar that we're
Mm.
using, and the environment affects us, the people around us affects us. But to what extent do we allow it? It's just so much.
Mm.
And I'm doing my best to, create, topics that will allow us to tackle each of these things, because
Mm.
this is like an overview of what I'm speaking about, but it goes so much deeper. And it's about what you're consuming, whether it's the food that you're consuming, the social media that you're consuming, the television shows that you're consuming.
Mm-hmm.
We as a society has been influenced by, television and marketing, such as commercials. And now that we are able to stream, we have to pay extra money to not see commercials. But to some degree, these, programs, movies, news captions, social media, any one of them, just any one of them, whether it's, TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, all of these social media apps have the ability to influence us in certain ways. And we have to be mindful of what we're watching, what we're consuming. Consuming is not just
Mm.
ingesting, it's what we're seeing, what we're hearing, what we're allowing in our space. And I'm not saying that everything has to be filtered, but that awareness keeps you ready to discern what's going to be beneficial to you or what's garbage. We're
Mm.
constantly having to take that time and awareness to filter out a lot of the things that aren't necessary. I mean, the list can go on and on, from
Mm.
politics to things that are happening with the court and, government. And it's a lot. And we have to be in tune with ourselves and have spiritual practices in place to help keeps us in some sort of harmonious state, because there's some things that are out there that are so egregious that some people, it affects them so adversely. They take themselves out, or
Mm.
they're in a mental state that they have to go to places to bring themselves back into balance, and we just have to have this level of awareness to understand that these are external things. And if we have a strong, grounded spiritual base or foundation, it helps us move through this experience a little bit easier.
I will say, going back to what you were saying a little bit ago about what is it, spirituality, and how there being so many different like pathways to go. How did you choose like cardology as the main focus? Because you touched on at astrocartography, tarot, and cardology. Like,
Mhm.
how did you come across specifically trying to pursue cardology a little bit further than all the other, I guess, pathways you can go on?
So I would say about 8 years ago, or during the time that I had the surgery, I think it was around 8 years ago, or around the time that I had the surgery, there was a video that I saw that was speaking about it. And there was actually an organization, I believe, that was created at that time. And I stumbled on it. And there was this woman that I now know as Aquarius Maximus, or I think it was another name at the time, or I saw her social media. And I feel like when I saw it, it didn't really make sense But somehow, when I ended up on another platform called Clubhouse, there were
Mm-hmm.
individuals that spoke more in depth about it. And I was like, I remember this science. And I touched on it and I read it and I couldn't understand it. So the fact that it came back about maybe 3 or 4 years later, that I think the universe has a way of bringing things to our attention and then kind of like
Mm-hmm.
dangling that little carrot, and then later on it might bring it back, it might come back full circle when we're ready to receive that information. And I think at that time I was ready to
Mm-hmm.
receive the information and understand it more. So to answer your question in terms of when, I think the alignment came when my mind was more open and I did have those other studies such as astrology and numerology, because cardiology encompasses both of those sciences, because it's talking about the planets and the energy that the planets subtly influence. And then the numerology, you have to look at the numbers and what vibration that is, and then the planets that are in correspondence with some of those numbers. So cardiology became the
Mm-hmm.
focus because there was a group that I was with while I was on this application, and we would study together, we would talk about it and have these conversations. And then I ended up being in the company of a cardiology master, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
and it was her and her daughter. And I just started using a lot of their tools and sort of subscribed to their social media as well as their website that really broke down some more of it. So I would say that when I was ready and more spiritually mature to receive the information and apply it, that's when I really kind of sort of just had that as my main focus. And I have books and things, and I still go in and look at the astrology in my natal chart, and I still look at the
Mm-hmm.
numerology when I add up, because your name and your birthday, everything has a frequency. And I know that I'm a
Mm-hmm.
life past six, and
Mm-hmm.
according to different things that you're looking at and adding the numbers up. So there's so many different sciences, and everybody's has a piece here and there, and how you come to it and put it together is going to be according to what you can digest, what you can understand, what you can use. So when I found that I was able to use cardiology, and essentially I feel like I know that I literally healed from the experience of my mom passing because of looking into that tool, looking at the energies that were playing out at the time.
I don't know, because you can't compare it to religion, because religion and spirituality are like two different things. I
Hmm.
feel, well,
Yeah,
organized
they are.
religion and spirituality, but I
Right.
do feel like we're such a communal species that you can't really do anything completely by yourself. So when you're saying the cardology, when you got into it, it was because you had joined this group in this community. One of the main things I feel like why I tend to gravitate towards spirituality, and I guess I would prefer, I do like the angel numbers. I love seeing frequencies. That's my favorite thing. And
Hmm.
then when I'm noticing, like when I'm talking to people, I'm meeting more and more people that are on the same path as I am, and like it'll come up in a random conversation. Like I met this lady last week. She's opening up a metaphysical store here down the street from where I live, and it just so happened that we just got on talking about like tarot, and she's like, oh my gosh, she said something random like I love lavender, and then from lavender turned into like talking about me going to like a metaphysical store and picking up a crystal, and she's like, oh, I'm opening one. So it's like as much as spirituality is an individual experience for everyone, I feel like it's definitely a shared experience with a lot of different people, and I feel like the more you're in alignment with your practice and what you're pursuing when it comes to gaining a better understanding and knowledge of your focus of whatever sciences you're focusing on, I feel like you meet more people that assist you along the way.
Right.
Like I
I
was
think that, yes.
earlier when I got the Fool card.
Yeah.
This lady gave it to me,
Yeah.
and it was just random. Like we didn't talk about any type of spirituality
That's
whatsoever,
alignment.
and it just flew out, and it just and I'm like, wow, like this is crazy. I
Yeah.
And she's like, oh yeah, she was like, I practice all the time, and I'm just thinking like I had no idea. So I think it's very communal, and I think it's very cool, and I think it only takes one person to like spark that inspiration for you to join another part of your journey, basically. Like it's
Yeah.
like a gateway.
Right.
So it's kind of
Right.
cool that you had that the people from the clubhouse to like get you into this and get you excited about it. And to be honest, our attention spans are so short, so the fact that you were able to stick to it is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I know. It's one of the things that has been really helpful using the different tools and things and continuing
Mm,
on my spiritual journey with healing some of the things that I experienced as a child when I was an adolescent in high school, in the military, having you, all of you, you and all of your siblings, relationships. And I start to look at the
mm-hmm,
energy and frequency that those things were going, that affected those things that around me. And it made sense. And I realize that this is an experience and all of these things are lessons. It's not things that are happening to me, no matter how unpleasant they were and unfavorable I
mm,
believed them to be at the time. They brought me to this space that I'm here at right now. And I have such an appreciation
mm,
for it. And alignment has been in place for quite some time with the people. You know, it's interesting. Divine Source Creator will have you experience people in your life that complement some of the things that you're experiencing and who can be that wise advisor if you need to have something answered, if you have to have a question answered about something. And then having these conversations about these sciences has been helpful in me healing, helpful in me understanding some things, helping me to be a better communicator, helping me to have
mm-hmm,
better relationships, helping me to understand my children better, different people that I've experienced. Like, it has been such an incredible experience to look back on and have this reverence to, you know, how I came to this point and realizing that everything moving forward I set intentions for. I'm very intentional about, I do my best to be intentional about the things that I say, you know,
mm,
sowing the seeds of things that I intend to have in my space, you know, writing, you know, creating products, this podcast.
mm,
There have been so many things that I set intentions for and not really realizing that there's an energy that supports it. So everything that's
mm,
out here that is used as a tool, and you have some people who are, you know, very you know, staunch supporters of whatever their beliefs are. And I love
mm,
that for people. And I would say that in addition to people's strong beliefs, that there is this space where harmony and some level of being open is helpful to you building, you know,
mm-hmm.
things that are for your best interest. So thank you for listening to another episode of Infinitely Gem and Tea. I'm Gem,
I'm T.
and we'll see you soon.
See you soon.